Hey guys, thanks for stopping by for another episode here at alliseeisW, where we talk about stocks, Bitcoin, and finance. In today's video, I'd like to do a deep dive sharing with you the latest updates around the Bitcoin market. We'll also be covering technical analysis, price predictions of Bitcoin, strategy, MSTR, and the big three Bitcoin miners. Most of you are wondering, how high can Bitcoin really be going in this cycle, and what does that mean with strategy, MSTR, and the big three miners? Which ones are going to outperform in the rest of 2025? I'll go through all of that. But if you're new to this channel, first off, I would really appreciate you hitting the like, subscribing for more related content. Let's get started, guys. Let's first talk about the rainbow chart. So what we're looking at right now is the Bitcoin rainbow chart with having events that's taken place, which we see with the vertical green line. So where we currently are right now with the price of Bitcoin hovering, today it surpassed 108,000. Now it's above 107,000. Where we currently are with the state of Bitcoin is we're hovering. We passed that blue zone. We're now in that green zone. And when will we get to the yellow and orange and, if possible, red zone? We've seen that, with the prior halving events, with the understanding that the last halving event took place April of 2024. Bitcoin is here to stay. The train isn't stopping. We are expecting for Bitcoin to, run up, into that yellow to orange zone. At least we've seen that with the last three Bitcoin halving events. And, this just gives us an update that, we're still early on in this Bitcoin bull cycle, and there's so much more to come, especially with price predictions of Bitcoin to get to 150 to $250,000. Watch Your Guru post is just in President Trump's Truth Social files for Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF. So, we heard about this several weeks back in that, Trump's Truth Social company, they're planning on becoming a Bitcoin treasury company. And it was until yesterday when we got the SEC formally approving this whole business model. And now, it's only a matter of time when we're going to hear DJT company front running and buying Bitcoin. What does this mean? When you think about it, the president, buying Bitcoin as well as Ethereum ETF, this is really going to drive global game theory all around the world. We hear about South Korea now trying to adopt cryptocurrency. In fact, Vietnam just announced today that they're legalizing cryptocurrency. So it's a global race right now. We hear a lot about public companies buying Bitcoin, just like Strategy. They've been buying since 2020. We have big time companies, rising companies like in Japan, MetaPlanet. In fact, today they bought over 1,000 Bitcoins today, now currently having over 10,000 Bitcoins. So things don't slow down right now. You know, Retail, 95% of retail hasn't even got into Bitcoin yet. But when you think about 95% of Bitcoin already mined, what does that tell you? We're experiencing a global demand for Bitcoin. And what is that going to mean? We're going to get more and more scarce with Bitcoin on the exchanges, and as a result, Bitcoin price will continue to skyrocket. Michael Saylor today posts that they've acquired over 10,000 Bitcoin for the cost of $1.05 billion at the average cost of 104,000 Bitcoin. Now they've achieved a Bitcoin yield of less than 20% year to date in 2025. So they don't remain complacent. They continue to stack sats. Their current hodl right now is 592,100 Bitcoin with an average cost of 70,000 per Bitcoin. So thinking about the average cost, 70,000 per Bitcoin, will we ever even get to that levels again? thinking about strategy as to why they're so strong is their HODL as well as their average cost. No other company right now that's adopting Bitcoin treasury can get at the price that strategy has been, buying Bitcoin, since 2020. But that's the benefit for being an early adopter for Bitcoin. Supply shock poses MSTR at $380 is a gift. That definitely is a gift. Looking back at strategy back when they ran up, to $550, $380 last year compared to where $380 today, it's much different. It's only a matter of time for strategies to start, climbing up. Here's an interesting visual. So Meta Planet 10,000 Bitcoin hodl, you see that, yellow school bus. And then what happens? Strategy 10,100, Bitcoin purchase, weekly buy, just dominates the amount of Bitcoin that Meta Planet today purchased. Strategy just continues to buy at the rate that no other company can compare. You think in terms of the rate of purchase every week, strategy is just outperforming every company out there. And that's through the different levers that the company has created with Strike, Strife, Stride with the IPO, minimizing dilution on MSTR stock and the ability to raise capital through these different levers and buying Bitcoin with it. So definitely some huge upside with strategy, even though the share price today didn't reflect that. Here's an interesting post from Trostein. Q2 close, MSTR eligible for S&P 500 inclusion. We're 14 days away for Bitcoin to end Q2 with the current price. Will it continue to go up? So it's TikTok, it'll be interesting to see how high Bitcoin can go by the end of Q2. And this is only going to be a milestone achievement. Why? Because with the accounting change with FASB, MSTR is able to file with the SEC that they've been generating income for the last 5 quarters. And by doing so, by being able to demonstrate that, that will allow for strategy to enter the S&P 500. Coinbase got into S&P 500. So now there's that demand, that expectation for strategy to be the next one up. I posted a few days back, which do you think has the biggest upside in the remaining 2025? Is it Bitcoin? Is it altcoins? Is it MSTR? Is it the miners? Now, just keep in mind there's a total of 71 votes, but it looks like 67% of those who took this poll think that miners have the opportunity for a big run up through the rest of 2025. Put it in the comments what your perspective is. Is it Bitcoin, altcoins, MSTR, or the miners? I'd love to hear what your perspective is. Only chart posts today. RIOT monthly chart. The big move is done in 4 months every cycle. So what are we seeing? Back in 2018, RIOT ran up, within this 4 month cycle duration, all the way up to close to $55. And then what happened with the next bull market around 2020, 2021? 4 months of upward movement going from $2 all the way to $80. And now, are we going to see the next run up? We've seen it historically with every Bitcoin bull cycle. So will history repeat itself? Let me know in the comment. Crypto Vici, he's posting Bitcoin to 125,000 by end of June. Can you imagine how much profits the miners will be able to show on their balance sheet if that's the case? Mara Q2, over $2 billion fair value change. Bitcoin mining 2,500 Bitcoin. That equates to over $312 million. Mara's earnings per share is expected $3.70. Wall Street analysts earnings per share is minus 0.21. Revenue of 211 million. Institution ownership is currently at 259 million shares. Total shares available 352 million. Shorts exposure $87.5 million. So what does this tell you? Things are really going to front run. Mara has, it's been on a downward trajectory, but will things turn around? Will we see Mara break out Macro Mentor posts about Clean Spark. It's a matter of time before this baby goes vertical. We believe this will go past target two. What is target two? We'll look down below. Our group is aware of target three and four. But before we get to target two, target one is currently set at $18. Target two is set at $25. Will CleanSpark reach a new banana zone similar to what we've seen with the last halving events? Can CleanSpark run up and bypass target two? We'll see. It's only a matter of time. Let's talk about technical analysis of Bitcoin. So current price of Bitcoin right now is 107,095 per Bitcoin. We're looking at Bitcoin on the weekly candles. One of the key things I want to call out is, since the last, crossing with the 9 to 21 week crossing, what did we see? Bitcoin price was at 68,000 and then it ran up to its all-time high at that time. Then we had the death crossing, back in March on the weekly. Then we had a pullback from like 93,000 to, 75,000. It was up until recently, May 26th when we had that weekly 9 to 21 crossing, that golden crossing. So if things play out the same way that it did recently, going from like 63,000 to like 110,000, we have huge upside and we're forecasting that Bitcoin can go anywhere from like 150 to 250,000. So that looks, very achievable, especially given the fact that we just got that golden crossing and relative strength is steadily increasing on the weekly, currently at 64. That's a good indicator for bullish trends. It's not running up too fast where it's, overbought, but we want to see relative strength, gradually tick up as well as having this golden support band be established. We're looking at strategy on the weekly chart. So what are we seeing? We see this, bull flag being drawn out. We had that next leg up as Bitcoin, reached its prior resistance all-time high. And in fact, it reached its, all-time high of 112,000. We currently see price of strategy in this bull flag. In fact, we see a cup and handle forming. One of the key things is relative strength. It's been in that steady, 50 range. MACD, it's we haven't seen a breakout with the price action right now, so it's definitely a flat line right now, but it's only primed and coiled for a big run up. I do foresee, while people are looking at other Bitcoin treasury companies like Metaplanet outperforming right now, a lot of people are getting impatient moving their money, but it's only a matter of time until strategy starts gapping up. We've seen this puppy run up significantly last year, and there's potential for it to do the same. I'm bullish that strategy will reach $1,000, by the end of the year. We're looking at Mara's price action. So key thing with Mara is, a lot of, volatility. We've seen it drop off from like that $30 since November. As we zoom out, it's only a matter of time until this puppy just starts skyrocketing. We know that Mara has close to 50,000 Bitcoins on their balance sheet. The technicals are just screaming for, upward trajectory. Relative strength has been beaten down for so long. It's been oversold, now gradually picking up. We're seeing MACD improvements. Things are looking like it's reversing. It's only a matter of time. Remain patient. Dollar cost average. Why? Mara is the second biggest company with Bitcoin HODL, and the fact that it's currently at $15 when it previously was at $30 since November, definitely undervalued. Huge upside. I see, 3 to 10x potential with Mara. The sky's really the limit with the this big three miner. Let's take a look at Riot Platforms, ticker RIOT. So, we definitely see some nice activity with the price action, inverse head and shoulders drawn out. MACD, we're seeing that intersection. I do foresee, a golden green hill being established. Relative strength is building up slowly but surely. That's a good thing. At 54, we retested that level one prior resistance. This is now becoming the potential new support as we see price action, whether it goes above that or hover around this level one support, where the prior resistance is now the support. It's only a matter of time before we reach that level two resistance, have that become the support before Riot just takes off. One of the things I want to point out is what do we see in the last bull run? It went from like $2 to like $81 within like a span of like several weeks. So anything is possible when you scale out. Things can just run up significantly. Relative strength hasn't reached that level that we've seen in the last bull cycle, but anything can just run as Bitcoin just starts skyrocketing. We're looking at CleanSpark on the weekly, so similar performance, big three miners. We see that inverse head and shoulders, MACD crossing. This is definitely a good sign. Relative strength is in the steady 50. I do foresee CleanSpark to reach that level two. It's only a matter of time where we're going to retest that $25. Definitely prime for a big run, since it's been consolidating in this long-term bull flag, but it's only a matter of time for the big three miners to make a big run. I definitely do see CleanSpark significantly undervalued under $10. When it runs, this puppy can run. I do think that even potential of getting to like $35, $40 by year end. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed a thorough, detailed analysis of Bitcoin, what my price prediction of Bitcoin is for the year 2025. We also talked about strategy, covering the latest updates as well as technical analysis, where I think strategy is headed for the remainder of the year, as well as covering the big three Bitcoin miners, Mara, Riot, CleanSpark, which huge potential for big time squeeze. Stay tuned for more updates. If you're new, I would really appreciate hitting the like, subscribing. Thanks, guys. I'll talk.